In today's video, I connect some tracks. I make a new Zimmerit texture. Again. In addition, I try to mix a special magic potion. I cut decals into 2 pieces. And lastly, I glue wheel. Hello, fellow modelers. One of the most massive produced German tank destroyers built on Panzer IV chassis is named Jagdpanzer. There were roughly 2000 pieces, so 1000 more than Stück 4. Anyway, I purchased a kit made by Dragon. The details are lovely and you can build an excellent model from this kit. Unfortunately, I'm not too fond of rubber tank tracks, but I will solve this problem later. Let's assemble the kit and make minor improvements. The armor plate is slightly bent, but it is not a problem for super thin glue. The glue flows between the parts and creates a strong bond. The parts fit nicely, so there is no need for more improvements. However, you know me, so I'm not satisfied with it. I recently made a Stück 4 model and try to create a new Zimmerit texture. The same story is with this kit. The box art has the Zimmerit, but the parts whatsoever. Therefore, it is a perfect opportunity to try a different Zimmerit technique, and more pronounced, and maybe better. I use 2-component epoxy putty. If you do not have a Tamiya one, you can use Alteco Epoputty, Milliput or green stuff as the alternatives. Try to apply a thin and uniform layer of a putty on the plastic surface. Behold the new special Plasmo Zimmerit tools. I designed and print with template stamps for 72 scale models. Where to get them? The files or prints are available on my Patreon page. I also tested Zimmerit wheels, but it was hard to make straight lines. I found out that these tools are more straightforward to use. So, how to use them? A good trick is to use water to prevent putty from sticking to your tools. The putty drying time is roughly 30 minutes, so you have plenty of time to achieve a needed result. You can use a smaller size for corrections or breaking symmetry, because the real Zimmerit was applied by hand. I made these tools because, as you can see, the pattern around the gun barrel is quite complex. The result looks lovely, primarily is more pronounced than with the razor saw, and it is easier to make it. I use on the flat surface large Zimmerit template stamps, and for complex round shapes it is good to use a smaller size. So this was the first minor improvement. Another problem is with the simplified tank tracks. Therefore I purchased, redesigned and printed new parts. It is 72 scale, but even so, it has crazy details like 0.2 mm holes in each link. Lucky me, I realized meanwhile assembling process that I have in the box sprues for the late Jagdpanzer version. It means longer gun barrel and straight exhaust pipes. So this is the end, bye! Or not? I came back to Blender and made new parts again. Why not to make a screw thread for the muzzle brake? The parts are also available on my Patreon. I already mentioned that I do not like rubber tongue tracks. The major problem is that the material is not stable and after a few years it will become bitter. Also, the color does not adhere to the surface firmly and it could peel off easily. Thus, I use my resin printed parts. I am gluing resin with an ordinary superglue. They fit exceptionally well. I have a straight line over tracks, but how to shape it? You can use a hairdryer and bend the resin with a heat. Honestly, I calculated the size of the length for the Jagdpanzer drive wheel, but I also tested Hummel or Panzer III, and it fits all of them. I use the advantage of the heat to make a sagging effect. Then it will hold the shape when it becomes cold. The result is crazy. Okay, now let's paint the hunter. I use on German 3-color camouflage marking these paints. If you are making German vehicles, then it is easier to have a proper shades. These paints from AK are similar to Tamiya Acrylic or Mr. Hobby H series, and the best is that you can mix these brands together. The good idea is to make the rubber parts and yellow center discs separately. Painting sharp stains in this scale could be hard, so you need to mix color with a thinner and add a few drops of a retarder, which prolongs drying time. Then good is an airbrush with a small nozzle, something like 0.2 mm. It is also important to set a low pressure. I use 25 psi, but if you don't have a gentle airbrush trigger, then 15 psi is more suitable. I am painting small details with water-based acrylic colors, like Gravel Aqua or Vallejo. I prefer to unify the surface before decals with a clear varnish. One smooth layer should be okay. The marking scheme is for the 17 SS Panzergrenadier Division with 212 numbers on the sides. Luckily, I found in my Panther kit decals with a number 221. Easy modification. I unify decals with a Zimmerit texture by Decals Chemicals. I am changing the shade to darker with a brown oil filter. I mix it from oil paint and white spirit. Now I'm making the deep details like panel lines and holes more pronounced with a black wash. I like enamel paints for painting, shading and weathering, because you can wipe them out with a thinner if you are not satisfied with the result. The nice effect is small matte splatters. I use for this effect highly diluted enamel paint. I am painting rust with a Vallejo water-based paint, because you can blend them nicely and they are resilient against weathering chemicals. So, for example, if you want to apply more dirt or shading, you do not need to protect the result with a varnish. Other lovely details are small scratches. The surface looks still very uniform, and you can break that feel by making hatches or details darker than the rest of the surface. I want only a small amount of paint on exhaust, and the rest should be rusty. Now let's mix heavy matte and dust. I use a mix of plaster, dry pigment, PVA glue and water. Next you can add some sawdust for a rougher texture. It will become lighter when it dries. One solid layer of dry matte is dull, thus I am painting oil leaks and wet matte with oil paints. And of course, I cannot forget add accumulated dirt from exhaust. Last but not least detail is antenna wire. I made it from residual plastic sprue. As you can see, the decals are still shining, so it is good to unify them with a matte varnish. Okay, and with these final details, we are done. I was pleased with the Zimmerit texture on my Stück 4, but there is always space to improve yourself and push new boundaries. It is a shame that from the original kit almost nothing is left, and all the details are new. But on the other side, it is plastic modeling after all. Okay, thank you for watching and see you next time. Now the Jagdpanzer reveal.